guys, how's it going? So I just went on Twitter and I saw this article here in Lad Bible that said that there's a song called Prince Andrew is a Sweaty. You know what? There's certain words you can't say on YouTube, so I have to be careful. And I thought it was quite funny that this song is rising up in the charts. Now I can't play it, but I'll leave a link below because it's what you would expect from British humour. It's the same kind of like songs you would expect in like the early 90s, style-wise, for like kind of poking fun at him, even though it's not really a jokey situation, you know. But yeah, it is quite interesting that in Jubilee weekend, when the Queen has paid millions and millions of pounds to silence somebody, the people of Britain are still highlighting this issue. And this got me thinking about this video that I saw about a similar scenario with a certain ring happening in Westminster. And I watched this video and it completely blew my mind. So I thought, I'm going to have to share it because it's insane. So let's jump into this right now. It is from Novara Media. They did such a good job on their coverage here.
With accusations of Tories blackmailing and bullying MPs all over the news, we decided to have a dig into the history of the grim tactics used to cajole MPs into voting with the government. A great source here is the 1995 BBC documentary Westminster's Secret Service. The programme interviewed a number of former whips, and some of the admissions were astounding. Here are two former whips explaining the role of the Black Book of MPs' secrets.
In the Tory whip's office, they keep records of the personal problems of their MPs in what's called the Black Book, or Dirt Book, which is kept in the Chief Whip's safe.
I mean, the Dirt Book was just a little book where you had to write down in varying things that you knew or heard about people.
But what sort of thing would you put in the Dirt Book?
Oh, well, you can take a very good guess. I don't think I should go any further than say you could take a very good guess of all the sorts of things that would happen in life. You would have a good spread of them that would be happening to varying people that you had heard about or knew about or maybe true.
Well, scandalous stories, I suppose, which possibly are not at all accurate. But you say member Blogs told me at dinner this evening that member Waltons is seeing a lot of somebody's wife and not his own, and this sort of thing. That would go in.
What was the purpose of putting that sort of thing in the Black Book?
So that we knew everything about everybody.
Why did you want to do that?
Because we were a very efficient organisation. We were. I don't know whether all whips offices are. And when you are trying to persuade a member that he should vote the way he didn't want to vote, which is part of your job, which is a great part of your job on a controversial issue, it is possible to suggest that perhaps it would be not in his interest if people knew something or other.
Wow. So if you vote for an MP because you like their personality, you might not like their party, but you like their personality, the Whip has a black book where all the things that they've done, where they then blackmail them into voting along with the party. Wow.
Very mildly. But
That all sounded pretty sinister, but the only concrete example given there was of an MP having what I presume would be a consensual affair. Tim Fortescue's next admission, however, was far more worrying.
anyone with any sense who was in trouble would come to the whips and tell them the truth and say, no, I'm in a jam, can you help? It might be debt, it might be scandal involving small boys.
The ring at Westminster that nobody speaks about anymore, that was kept quiet.
Or any kind of scandal which a member seemed likely to be mixed up in, they'd come and ask if we could help. And if we could, we did. And we would do everything we can, because we would store up brownie points. If I mean, that sounds a pretty nasty reason, but it's one of the reasons. Is if we can get a chap out of trouble, then he'll do as we ask forevermore.
So
Get a chap out of trouble with regards to the P word ring in order to get them to vote however they want. So rather than have them arrested or have them sent to jail or get them to stop, they would write it down in their book and use it to get them to vote how they wanted. That is insane.
Fortescue, who was a government whip from 1970 to 1973, is suggesting that MPs who were thought to be sex offenders of children were not only blackmailed by the whips to vote with the government, but protected by them too. They were willing to help cover up those gruesome allegations. The claims made in that clip were subsequently investigated in the 2014 inquiry into child sexual abuse linked to Westminster that was unable to find concrete evidence of the involvement of the Whip's office in covering up abuse, but that doesn't necessarily show what Fortescue said to be untrue. It is notoriously difficult to find detailed records from the Whip's office. They value secrecy, something which was made clear after one of the few occasions when a judge successfully ordered a Whip's memo to be released. That was in 1996 in relation to the Cash for Access scandal. Following the judge's decision, then Government Whip Giles Brandiffe wrote in his diary, "The question is what to do in future. The Chief Whip's conclusion is, keep writing notes. He needs the information, so does the PM. But sleep easy, boys. From now on, the notes will be shredded on a regular basis."
1996.
These are clearly a group of operators who do not want to be held to account. Yet while written evidence may be in short supply, the testimony of MPs shows dirty tactics are widespread. In 2014, a Tory MP who was elected in 1992 told The Guardian, "They even kept phoning my wife and saying you should tell him to vote with the government. It was quite extraordinary. They would try everything, threats and inducements, saying they knew things that they didn't want to have to make public, implying they would if they had to. With some, it was affairs or things like visits to gay nightclubs. It didn't matter if it wasn't true or was gossip, they still tried it on."
God.
What's more, when Westminster was engulfed in the 2017 sexual harassment scandal, Guido Fawkes published this spreadsheet. It was compiled by Tory staffers, and it's of 36 allegations against MPs of inappropriate sexual conduct. At the time, it was assumed by many in Westminster that much of this information was already in the hands of party whips. And speaking to Newsnight, former Ed Miliband advisor Aisha Hazarika said the following: "Every whip's office will have a big black file on MPs, and that will include bad behaviour, including sexual harassment. Sometimes there has been a feeling the whip's office know there are people doing bad behaviour, whether it's drinking too much or being inappropriate, but they're not actually going to do anything in terms of disciplining these people. They'll use that information to help them when it comes to leveraging them to vote in a certain way."
It's crazy.
So you can see that they want to save these secrets so that they can use them in an instrumental way later. It's not the case if we find out wrongdoing, we'll make that transparent straight away. No, they want to save that because they can use it.
That is absolutely insane. I mean, I'm not surprised really because we've all heard these stories for a long time, but it's completely insane. So yeah, amazing reporting there by Navarro Media. Now, what I would have probably went into as well is, let's see, Jill Dando, for example. We all know that Jill Dando, who was the BBC presenter for Crime Watch, journalist Jill Dando was murdered in 1999, aged 37, by a lone gunman who shot her outside her front door. And the rumours going around back then was that she was investigating this ring at Westminster and was then assassinated. How much truth there is to that, we'll never know, but that's what the talk was back then. I mean, there could obviously be truth to it, so I would probably mention that. Now, one other thing which is really important, which they didn't mention, which I think is incredible that they did not bring this up, because I would have definitely brought this one up, right? And that is, okay, so we know that there was an investigation into this P-word ring at Westminster quite a few years ago now, right? And basically, the government said that it was a matter of national security, and they needed to get the files from the police to look into it themselves. Now, okay, so let's see. Hundreds of secret police files go missing. This is from the Times website. Theresa May's department has not had a single document about its role in setting up and financing the special demonstration squad, yada yada yada. Okay, right. The situation echoes the 114 files on historic C-word, A-word, you know, you can see it here, that the department admitted had been lost or destroyed. Right. So they've took the files from the police, they've said they've either lost them or they've destroyed them, right? And basically they're not giving them back to them. Now, this doesn't make much sense because this is a digital age, the police must have backups, but they were told to stop investigating into this as it's a matter of national security. And generally, I guess it's because, as we just saw in that video, the whips already knew about these things happening and were just using it in order to blackmail to get their MPs to vote in a certain way. So, I mean, I guess a lot of them would be in trouble. Then, of course, there's the links to Prince Andrew and so on as well. Okay, right. So, one of the most incredible things about this is, so this department who lost or shredded all the files was run by Theresa May, yeah, who basically, she saved all the P words in Westminster by accidentally losing or shredding all of the evidence, and the police was then told to stop looking into it. Now, what's incredible about that is, and how nobody really spoke about this, blows my mind, is the fact that Theresa May, after saving all the P words in Westminster, became the unelected Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Now, David Cameron was voted in, not Theresa May, and David Cameron retired. And then Theresa May, having just recently saved all the P words, became the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in 2016, but not voted by the public. She was accepted. She accepted Queen Elizabeth II's invitation to form a new administration following the resignation of her predecessor David Cameron in the aftermath of the EU membership referendum. Right. So David Cameron did a runner after basically Brexit was voted through. And Theresa May became an unelected Prime Minister who wasn't voted in by the public, which means it looks like this was a reward from the Conservative Party for her saving all the P words and whips and so on within Westminster. And that is just insane. It's wild. And the fact that nobody even protested at all, they just kind of let it go on. It's absolutely mad. Anyway, I just thought I would highlight that because I remembered that video and thought, wow, that was insane. Completely insane. Anyway, if you want to see more videos like this where we look into these kind of dodgy things that the government are up to and stuff, I'm also going to go back into more UFO type videos as well. I'm thinking, like a not insane version of Alex Jones, where we're actually looking at facts in real life and not madness. But yeah, wild. Anyway, like I said, let me know in the comments if you got more of these types of videos, and I'll get on it. Thanks. I'll catch